Well, I'm sure, like some of you, I watched my first Democratic debate of the season last night. And all I can say is the only thing that would have made it even more entertaining was at the very end if Chevy Chase had come out onto the stage and said, "Live from New York, it's Saturday night." So let me just get straight to it. This collective group of morons, misfits, idiots, and nitwits wants to be the President of the United States. Yeah. One thing is extremely apparent now about Mike Bloomberg. The Emperor has no clothes. Now that he couldn't hide behind his $400 million ad buy and his carefully controlled narrative where he and his people were in control of all things as to his image and what he had to say and how he had to say it, he finally had to actually, square off against his opponents. He finally had to answer questions. He has yet to give an actual interview, though. And he got pummeled last night. Everyone agrees on that except Chris Wallace over at Faux News, formerly known as Fox News. He said on Brian Kilmeade's radio show that Bloomberg got roughed up, but he'll be okay. Roughed up? He got massacred. And of all people to deliver it, it was Elizabeth Pocahontas Warren.
I'd like to talk about who we're running against. A billionaire who calls women fat broads and horse-faced lesbians. And no, I'm not talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about Mayor Bloomberg. Mr. Mayor, are you willing to release all of those women from those non-disclosure agreements so we can hear their side of the story?
We have a very few non-disclosure agreements.
How many is that?
Let me finish.
How many is that?
None of them accuse me of doing anything other than maybe they didn't like the joke I told. And let me just put, there's agreements between two parties that wanted to keep it quiet, and that's up to them.
Now, was that enough to actually help and revive her campaign? She was the most tweeted about on Twitter last night. People really did like that. But it reminded me, and I'm sure she did fine on her fundraising last night, but it reminded me of Chris Christie taking out Marco Rubio in the Republican debate. Remember, there was that exchange where, Christie just set his sights on Rubio, and, that was it. Rubio was done at that point, but so was Christie. It wasn't enough to give him a bounce and really get him back as a viable candidate. He was over. He was done. And President Trump should thank him for that because Christie really did deliver the death knell to Marco Rubio. And I kind of have this feeling that that's what Elizabeth Warren did to Mike Bloomberg. Oh, there's no doubt he's going to try to spin this. In fact, his team has already begun to spin it with their tweets that they were putting out on his behalf saying, well, you know you're the leader when everyone is attacking you. No, I think that they're just really incensed that at the last minute, this guy is bribing and buying his way in. They found out that he's been going to the big Democratic donors, telling them to sit this one out. He's got it. Apparently, he's told all of them except Bernie they need to withdraw and get out, and so that he and Bernie can duke this out. This guy coming in as, forget me for saying it this way, as an arrogant, stuck-up prick, they haven't any of it. They're just not. And they took it to him, and they took it to him hard. And again, it goes back to what I've been saying here for the past few days, even before I saw this debate debacle. He doesn't have it. He doesn't have that it factor, that it quality. Donald Trump has it in spades. Like him, love him. Hate him, revile him, worship the ground he walks on. Donald Trump has the ability to, when he gets hit, spin it either into a great sarcastic humor or pop one back. Go back to when Megyn Kelly, in the very first debate that Donald Trump was in, and she went right after him, just like Elizabeth Warren did with Mike Bloomberg. She went right after Donald Trump with, "You've called women fat pigs, disgusting slobs, dogs, blah, blah, blah." And he responded, "Only Rosie O'Donnell." And everybody laughed. Now, Megyn tried to correct him, and no, it's been other women than that. But that was it. Donald Trump, in that moment, stepped up, he delivered, and at that point, he was on his way. He controlled the news cycle about that, even his little dust-ups in the news cycles and with his tweets with Megyn Kelly. And at the end of the day, where is Megyn Kelly and where is Donald Trump? Mike Bloomberg, as soon as she went after him about calling, you've referred to women as horse-face lesbian broads. He was talking about the royal family. It was something apparently, I guess he wrote in a book. All he had to say was, well, just the royal family. Now, let's be honest. Most of us look at the royal family and think, man, it's a good thing that they are, quote, the royal family and have a guaranteed income, because if any of these people actually had to go out and make their way in the world on their own merits, their own abilities, their own lackluster personalities, and their god-awful homeliness, I mean, come on. Really? Look at the royal family. Even some of the women in that royal family. I mean, fence posts are hotter. It's just the reality. And again, I said this yesterday. Mike Bloomberg is out there apologizing for things that he has said and positions that he has held that worked. Stop and frisk worked. His racist rhetoric and his over-the-top overtone was because, again, he is this rich, and I'm going to use that word again, prick, who thinks he is entitled, he's smarter than you, he knows more than you, he's got this, he doesn't need you, this is what he did, this is why he did it, like it, lump it, don't care, I got enough money to buy and sell you. That is Mike Bloomberg, that's his attitude. And I guarantee you, there are people on his team today that are, Mr. Bloomberg, we tried to prep you. We tried to get you ready for last night. You know, he basically said, I got this. I'm Mike Bloomberg. I hesitate to use this reference because it gets used over the top with people with whom we have political disagreements, but I'm going to use a Hitler reference. And no, I'm not calling Mike Bloomberg a Nazi and that he's for the infanticide of the Jews, etc. That's not what I'm about to say. Adolf Hitler got to a place where he believed his own propaganda. I mean, Germany was done. It was burning. Berlin was caving in around him. The Russians were there. We were there. The Allies were closing in. And yet, in his own warped view, he still thought there could be some miracle victory. Till finally he ended up as a coward taking his own life. Mike Bloomberg believes his own propaganda. He believes that he is just this incredible intellect that he can even teach farmers how to do their job better than they do it, though he's never done it. Dwight Eisenhower once said, farming looks awful easy for a guy that's never done it before and sits 1,000 miles away and his only plow is a pencil. The emperor has no clothes. He showed us last night he can't debate. He's got no answers. He didn't know how to respond to Elizabeth Warren, and she pummeled him. Look, you're having a bad night on a debate stage when Joe Biden looks like a viable option again. I mean, Bloomberg may just have revived Joe Biden last night. I'm not kidding you. This was outright atrocious, but it was highly entertaining to watch. And you listen to these pundits today. They didn't go after Trump, they went after each other. They didn't go after Trump, they went after each other. Well, right now, they're really not running against Trump. They're running against, Shazam, Batman, each other. And they got to try to decide who's the leader of this thing. And I don't want to hear that Bernie Sanders is this fringe outlier. No. Look at how many outliers they have given the nod to. And not just McGovern. Barack Obama was not mainstream. He got in because America, especially liberal Americans and guilty white Americans, wanted to be on the right side of history. They didn't seem to care if they were on the right side of policy and what was actually best for America. What Barack Obama did in 8 years and with his executive orders was a systematic dismantling of the United States. You talk about an extreme makeover. I mean, Barack Obama was an absolute hardcore radical who had trained at the feet of a Saul Alinsky. I mean, come on. We're talking about the Weather Underground, an anti-American homegrown terrorist group that helped shape the ideology of Barack Obama, whose grandparents were card-carrying communists. I mean, it's just unbelievable that they're now trying to say, we can't have Bernie Sanders. At the end of the day, this party has nothing to run on, but we hate Trump. Hey, even Elizabeth Warren, when she was throwing those death blows to Mike Bloomberg, and, you know, basically saying we don't need another billionaire, she did say, and they all have said, but I will support whoever the nominee is. So if it's Bloomberg, you're going to support him, Liz? Really shows your core values. And if Bernie becomes the nominee, if they don't cheat him out of it again. But then again, you know, there were some missed opportunities by these guys last night, you know, because at one point it was like they were all trying to outpour each other, you know, who has less. I mean, even billionaire Mike Bloomberg, you know, going after, it was actually kind of funny, but is going after Bernie Sanders.
Mike Bloomberg owns more wealth than the bottom 125 million Americans. That's wrong. That's immoral.
It's ridiculous. We're not going to throw out capitalism. We tried that. Other countries tried that. It was called communism, and it just didn't work.
Let's talk about democratic socialism, not communism, Mr. Bloomberg. That's a cheap shot.
The best-known socialist in the country happens to be a millionaire with 3 houses. What'd I miss here?
Yeah, because Bloomberg then said, I only have 1 house, and it's in New York. Yeah, okay. But yeah, you know, you got Bernie Sanders always talking about, I will not take money from billionaires, and he's telling that to like Pete Buttigieg. And you know, you got Buttigieg talking about, you know, all of the real grassroots people that support him, and you can't help it if a few rich white... These guys don't even know how to do this right. See, if I were standing there last night, and actually I wanted to for a few minutes, and I wanted somebody like Bernie to look at me and say, I'm over here, we got Marty, who's, you know, he's taking money from billionaire donors, I would say, well, yeah. And apparently you've changed, because at one time you used to say millionaires and billionaires, but now that you yourself are a millionaire, Bernie, you've just upped it to billionaire. By the way, then I would hit him on, and you became a millionaire because your wife grafted money from the university she was president over and then got fired, and you got Hillary to write you a check. I loved how he tried to explain that, like a lot of people in Vermont, yes, I have a cabin. You know, he's trying to make it sound like, you know, he's got one of these like shacks out in the woods that he stays in, you know, in a sleeping bag when he's on a little fishing trip or taking the grandkids, or, you know, rabbit hunting. You know, I got a cabin. And these guys, they're hypocrisy. And then Elizabeth Warren, oh my word, I wanted to be on the platform when she talked about when I was growing up in Oklahoma, and I want to say on the reservation. You know, I mean, really, this was absolutely hilarious last night. Like I said, all was missing was Chevy Chase coming out saying, live from New York, it's Saturday night. This collective group of morons, and it wasn't just that they exposed Mike Bloomberg is not up to the job. None of them are. They looked absolutely asinine, ridiculous last night. It was hilarious. And other than election rigging on the part of trying to deny Donald Trump, it's his. We shall see what kind of role Hillary really does take, because they're trying to now downplay, oh, no, there's no me and Mike. We'll just see about that. Then again, he imploded so badly, and you do have the donor class and the money within the Democratic Party does not want Bernie Sanders, a true ideologue when it comes to communism and an anti-capitalist. They do not want him becoming the nominee. Does this open the door for the return of Hillary?
I'm back!
Hey, that's it for this rant. Thank you so much for watching. Give us a thumbs up and a like. Make sure you spread this video everywhere. Let's put this one over the top. Let's get this one going viral out there, because that'll just make YouTube's head explode. That said, make sure you are a subscriber, smack the bell for notification of my next rant, and make sure you check the word all so that you actually get a notification of my next rant.